Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Emerging Brands. My name's Cash Miller. I'm your host. I'm also the CEO of Titan Media Works. We do podcast production. I've got with me Gerald Steen. He's with World Options. We're going to be talking shipping today. Shipping is not your normal. I mean, when you think shipping, you do think, franchises like UPS Store and stuff like that. But we've got a different model here where the franchisee is, in some cases kind of a broker. Like World Options has put together some deals, and they've got discounts, they've got reasons that you want to go through them to ship rather than go to your UPS store. Gerald, it's great to have you on. Tell us about World Options, your role with the company and stuff, and what's this business model look like?
Sure. Cash, thanks for having me today. I am the U.S. franchise director for World Options. World Options started in 2003 in Manchester, England. And here we are, 2023, in the franchising business. We started franchising in 2012. The model is very much, we like to say we simplify the shipping process. We simplify the shipping process. That's anywhere from long haul carriers to short haul carriers to freight carriers to even the e-commerce business, if you will. So we cover it all in the shipping, but sometimes shipping can be a little complicated. And particularly if you have to sometimes go to the local UPS store, go to the local post office, or whatever the case may be, we simplify that through an online technology portal, or suite, if you will. And that suite allows our customers, as well as our franchisees, to simplify shipping is what we do here. We've been doing it for a while, and we have about 150 franchise units out there operating in 7 countries. Yeah.
Oh, great. So we've got a global company with us here today. And, when we're talking about simplifying, so, shipping is like, especially with e-commerce over the last decade, it's of course really blown up. There's so many packages going everywhere, and you have a lot because of, things like Etsy stores, and you've got, Shopify has got all sorts of merchants on there. You've got eBay people. There's a lot of shipping that goes on in, you might think small scale, but you'd be surprised how many packages some of these businesses are actually shipping on a daily basis. So you guys come in essentially when you partner with one of those companies that says, hey, we got to do all this shipping, we want to go, you're making their lives easier. Yeah, you're able to save them some money, right? And then also they don't have to keep going to the UPS store or anything like that, right? That's kind of how it works for the customer. It's like, walk us through, if I was a customer, what and I'm running an Etsy store, what would I have to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you mentioned 3 companies or 3 brands that we're partnered with, and that is Etsy, that is eBay, and that is Shopify. So we know the Etsy business model is many people are, we'll say, making product in their garage, in their back room, or whatever the case may be, but it has to be shipped out. And it has to be shipped out domestically as well as internationally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they partnered with us to help those entrepreneurs, if you will, get their product to market. And the way that's done is that they use our portal, our shipping portal. As I said earlier, we simplify the shipping process. And so if someone is very busy building a product or building something to be shipped from Etsy or Shopify, whatever the case may be, they just go into our portal and they type in the location, where it's going, who it's going to, along with the tracking number. We do the tracking for them. They can do the tracking as well with us to make sure that we get the product to market. The way that that's done is that we've also partnered with some bigger shipping carriers, such as FedEx, such as DHL, and such as UPS. And so what happens with that Etsy or that Shopify client, if you will, they'll create the label. UPS shows up at their door, takes it away for them. And so they may do that 1 time a day, they may do it 10 times a day, but we've contracted with those organizations to pick up the product from the front door, if you will, as opposed to having to get in the car and drive it and drop it off.
I think that's
So
like, Yeah, it's like really important too because, when you have those small retailers, and there's a lot of people that have entered that space, yeah, they say collectively they're shipping a lot. So you're using their collective buying power essentially, for from a rate standpoint. But they need every advantage, as a small business owner, they need every advantage they can get, especially cost wise, but also time wise too, because, if there's a lot of these people are, they're solo operators, solopreneurs, or, they might be husband wife teams. They might have a small team or something, but every bit, whether it's money or it's time, right? It's costing them because if you got to go to the UPS store, you got to take everything in, you got to do it on a daily basis. That's still time. And it's a lot different if all you got to do is box it up and slap a label and wait for them to pick it up so you can keep going on with your day. So you're providing a valuable service, for all of those small retailers. And I think that is like great. Now, where does the franchisee come in? Yeah, like what is their role in this process? And what does their day to day life look like?
Yeah, yeah. So the franchisee comes in, really identifying those small to mid-sized enterprises, if you will, small to mid-sized companies, or that need a shipping solution. And there, as you said, there are many of them out there. So our franchisee identifies those small to mid-sized companies in their local marketplace, perhaps across the globe, if you will, that need that shipping solution. And once they've identified that customer that needs the shipping solution, they determine, okay, which model fits best for you. Do you want us to provide the shipping and the tracking and that kind of thing, or would you like to go the label route and be a customer and you use our portal to go in and create your own shipping process, if you will, on a local level? So franchisees have an option to offer one, we do the heavy lifting for them to get the shipping done, to get the
Yeah.
labeling done and that kind of thing, and the delivery and the tracking. Or we can provide more of, okay, if an enterprise owner would like to have more of a on the hands approach to it, then they can do the shipping labels and they can do the tracking and the delivery, make sure the delivery takes place and so on and so forth. So those are the two models that we offer on our system, and it works
Uh,
exceptionally well.
Let me ask you, you mentioned before we actually hit the record button about, some particular like areas that some of the franchisees will focus on. For example, you said something about, international shipping and things like that. So explain why someone would go, different routes or some of the possibilities that they can actually approach. Because it's not just, hey, you're just working with all these little, small businesses, in these areas. So because, obviously you can work, it's not a matter of an Etsy store or something like that. You're going to have large enterprises too that do a lot of shipping and, can provide a lot of volume and, but they still would see savings by going through the portal, you know, rather than going to UPS, direct as well. You know, so what are some of the categories or ways you've seen franchisees be successful doing that kind of stuff?
Now, what's really unique about our business model, Cash, is that you can create your own niche, if you will, in the shipping space, because the shipping space is so large, it is so vast, and so we have franchisees that specialize in e-commerce. In other words, they're focusing on the e-commerce business
Mhm.
model, if you will. Then we have some franchisees that focus on international business models. In other words, people who do kind of an import-export business.
Okay.
Those are small and mid-sized businesses as well. But then we have those that focus on solely domestically, and that's getting a product from one side of the country to the other side of the country.
Mhm.
And if that's by air or if that's by freight or whatever the case may be, by courier, we have so many different ways that our franchisees can create that niche for themselves based on their level of interest, skills, experience, background is kind of where they gravitate to.
Okay.
And that is what we see. And so, like one franchisee comes to mind, and he loves the international shipping space, and that's what he spends his days and his weeks on, getting
Hmm.
product in and out of the U.S. So he knows yes, he knows he knows how to navigate through customs. He knows how to
Mm.
navigate when products come into the country and how products need to go out of the country. And so it just really comes down to where your level of interest may be
Yeah,
in the
well, that's
shipping
good.
space.
Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, like I say, so you don't. Not everybody's going to operate exactly the same. A number of them can. They can share best practices and things. Who do you guys consider to be competition in this space? Whether it's other companies doing something similar. Yeah, obviously the carriers are competition directly, but they're higher priced. Like say you've negotiated better deals with them. But who do you guys see as actual direct competition, if anybody?
So direct competition is really only one organization, and it's called Inexpress. Again, they were founded in England as well. They've recently come to the U.S. And so that's really our only competitor in this space with the franchise model. Now, when you get into shipping, of course, there are many couriers out there. There's many shipping companies out there,
Okay.
and we've mentioned some
Mhm.
of the very large ones.
Yeah.
But it's very unique. There's just so much opportunity in this space. Currently it's a $5 trillion industry. It's expected to go to a $8 trillion industry here in the next 5 to 6 years. I share that number with you because many people aren't aware that Uber is now in the shipping business. Yeah.
Yeah. Why am I not surprised? Yeah, yeah, because it's such a huge opportunity. Yeah, you have other newer players jumping in and everything. Yeah, so okay, let's from a business standpoint, I know that this one's a little bit on the lower cost, I would assume, because it is an at-home business model. It's something that you don't need an office, you don't need a place, you don't have to pay the rent and the extra, business expenses with this model. So go through I guess the financial structuring of this, like if you're looking to set up a franchise, what kind of costs can you expect, whether it's the franchise fees or what you might be spending on your own equipment and things, to get up and running.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you said, it is very much a home-based business. So being a home-based business, there's no need for brick and mortar. Do we have franchisees out there that has grown to the level that they need a brick and mortar? Absolutely. But to start out, there's no brick and mortar needed. It is a low-cost franchise system. So the barrier of entry is very low. So with that said, the initial franchise investment is $42,000 with us. We do offer financing with financing partners, if you will, SBA partners. We do offer discounts to veterans, military, and also we have a diversity and inclusion program as well. If someone fits in one of those categories, there's a
Mm,
20% discount on
okay.
the 42,000. So really, with that said, the initial investments anywhere between 78,000 and 87,000, depending on where you are, depending on how we set up your operation. That includes training, that includes marketing, that kind of thing. From the very beginning, a royalty rate is anywhere from 15% to 35%. The reason that there's such a large range is because it comes down to the product or service, if you will, that our franchisee offers. So if they offer, let's call it courier service, then your royalty rate's on the lower level. If you're providing freight or shipping or whatever, or international shipping, whatever the case may be, that's where the royalty rate gets a little higher because there's, of course, a lot more work to be done to get that
Mm,
product to destination. So, so it's pretty straightforward. I would say the last thing with our franchise system, outside of the numbers, are we are non-geographic. Again, working out of your home office, we're a non-geographic franchise. So you may have a client in Canada, you may have a client in Singapore,
mm.
wherever the case may be, but you also may have a client in Los Angeles and Tampa, Florida. They may be all over the place. So it's a non-geographic franchise system with the as a low-cost franchise system, if you will.
Yeah, so you don't need to divide things up by specific territories and say you work this territory because, I mean, it's shipping. So the likelihood that you're actually going to run into, you know, somebody that's already working with a different franchisee is not necessarily that, a high likelihood anyway, when you basically say we can work with anybody in the world. you know
Yes,
so and that's how you end up with those guys that are focused on those specialty areas that want to do international shipping and things. So they're more worried about, I want to go after this category. And of course, even if you had multiple people going after a category, there's a ton of room there as well. So yeah, I can see where you're not, territories aren't really an issue for this type of business.
exactly.
All right. So let's go from the training standpoint, because out the gate, I would assume it's just the franchise owner that's really getting the business off the ground. So what kind of training do they have to go through? And then later, because you mentioned that you got some businesses that have actually gone into brick and mortar. So I kind of want to know what that looks like, is like, because it gives an idea of, if you put in the work, what size could the business become? So, that's just like a staffing level. Like, hey, one of our franchisees got to, they've got a brick and mortar and they got 5 employees or whatever. So walk us through the training a little bit, and what are some of the possibilities that a franchise, can aspire to?
Yeah, yeah. So going through treaty, I shared a little bit earlier, and I like to say, who's our ideal franchisee? And our
Hmm.
ideal franchisee, someone who has a shipping background, someone who has a perhaps an IT background, sales background, a managing manager background, if you will, someone who can provide or follow processes and systems. But let's say you don't have that background.
Hmm.
We're willing to train you in the shipping carrier and freight world.
Yeah.
Um, and so we're willing to do the training. And what the training looks like, what it looks like is that we bring you to our corporate headquarters here in Denver, and essentially kind of go through training on the portal, becoming knowledgeable on the shipping space and the shipping industry, understanding volume shipping rates, if you will,
Mm.
understanding some of the rules and the laws and regulations that come along with the industry and in the space. So we spent 4 days in classroom setting. Some of our subject matter experts will come in and teach. Our coaches come in and teach on that. We also have some of um, um, our UK folks, if you will, our UK leadership team, if you will zoom in to train from there.
Okay.
So you'll get different perspectives. You get a US perspective, you get a UK perspective on what the training looks like. After the 4 days of training, then we assign you what I call a business mentor. And a business mentor, what they look like is someone who's been a World Options franchisee for quite some time. They've been exceptionally successful, and they share their best practices with you on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, or whatever the case may be, to make sure that the classroom training that was learned is being applied in the field or in the marketplace, if you will. A lot of the training includes sales training, if you will. That's
Yeah.
where I come in and help with sales training. And so it's quite the process, if you will, to learn how to become a World Options franchisee. Let's talk about margins a little bit. Margins, when I say margins, we mean revenue or profit margins, if you will, and they vary. We have some of our newer franchisees that are grossing somewhere from $100,000 working out of their home base rather. And then we have some that are earning $1 million a year. And those are the ones that, of course,
Mhm.
that have gone to having employees and having brick and mortar and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it just kind of understands, depends on rather where you are in the
Yeah, of
franchise
course.
system, if you will. But we've seen it from 100,000 to $1 million, if you will, gross margin. Just really depends.
Yeah, and it's really, if you're adding staff, it's really about adding more salespeople. It's about, bringing in more customers that you're working with and such. Since you are the sales guy, so how does a franchisee out the gate go find their first clients? What's your typical, recommendations? So what's the sales and marketing aspect of this look like? So you can drum up business.
Yeah. So first of all, it's something I failed to mention earlier. When you join World Options as a new franchisee, we provide the lead generation for you the first 6 months
Ah,
of being
okay.
with the organization. So target marketing is the responsibility of the franchisor in the very beginning. But let's say
Okay.
that 6 months has gone by. Lead generation has taken place those first 6 months, but well, you want to continue building your clientele or customer base. Some of the strategies that we use, of course, is LinkedIn and Facebook and those kind of things. But we're big on digital marketing. We're very big on target marketing, if you will. I mentioned who the ideal franchisee is.
Yeah.
Well, that's who we target in the space. That's who we target in the space to help them uh, uh, help simplify their shipping processes, if you whatever company they may be. So that's the kind of the approach that we take. So it's a very systematic approach. We have a team of people that helps with it, and a team of people that help identifying that potential customer base for you.
Yeah. So you've got, it sounds like you've got a lot of good support systems in place. You've got, it was ongoing training too, like, so whether it's, hey, I just added an employee, but they need to understand these systems. Is it the responsibility of the franchisee to teach them? Are you able to have the franchisor step in, to help with some of that training, and also just ongoing as systems change? We know technology advances, and you're kind of a tech heavy type business in that sense, because you're reliant on that technology to be able to arrange the shipping, and it changes with clients could be using the portal directly. So what's that piece look like from an ongoing standpoint?
Yeah. So from an ongoing standpoint, let's say that you do grow to the place that you need additional staff members. Then we welcome them. We invite them to come to Denver as well to go through the same training the franchisee goes through.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. But then again, you're right. We do have a team of people that's on our tech team, if you will. And as updates are needed with the technology, then we have a staff or a team of people that provide the updates to the
Okay.
technology that's used. Yeah.
Got it. um you know s- from the franchisee standpoint, like, I don't know, how big of an opportunity is this, you think, for them? And also, what are you typically looking for when you're talking to prospective franchisees? Like, what makes a good franchisee? What are the traits that you're after?
Yeah. Yeah. So why is this such a unique opportunity, a great opportunity for someone who's looking to become a franchisee entrepreneur, or even a shipping entrepreneur? I would say the number one reason is because this is a business that is rapidly growing. And we talked a little bit about,
Hmm. Yeah.
Amazon and Etsy and those kind of things. But let's go beyond that. Currently, there are over 33 million small businesses in the United States.
Yep.
Um, there's over 33 million. And as I shared earlier, currently it's over a $5 trillion industry, and is expected to grow over the next
Yeah.
5 years to an over $8 trillion industry. So that's probably the number one reason. And so with the explosion of the e-commerce, and it's only going to get bigger, um, you can, opportunity to get on the ground floor
Yeah.
as this business continues to grow as it is. I would say the last thing is low cost. I would say those are the three reasons to look at our franchise system.
I got a question.
Okay,
I don't know if you, so 33 million, small
three
businesses in
million,
the US.
yes, million.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So do you know the number that needs shipping services though? I don't expect you do, but I'm just curious.
That's a great question. I think at the end of the day, they all need to ship something. If it's a bill, if it's an envelope, or whatever the case may
Yeah,
be,
that's true.
we're here to simplify the shipping processes. So
Mm.
each one of those businesses have to mail something at some point.
Yeah, I would say though, in the last 20 years, like I would expect, let's say 20 years ago, you still had 33 million small businesses. But at the time, it was probably 10% that ship regularly, that on an almost daily basis. Now it's probably 30 to 40, because we think of how many businesses now are e-commerce related. Yeah, the percentage has gone up dramatically on how many have to do shipping, from the point where like eBay came along and whatever it was, 98 or something. Yeah. fast forward to now, and it's just insane how much shipping goes on. And that goes to your point of how much it's expected to grow in volume still, when it's already in the trillions of dollars. Yeah. So who makes that ideal franchisee for you?
The ideal franchisee is, I kind of mentioned earlier, someone who may have a shipping background, management background, sales background is important. The ability to interact with people and help them
Hmm.
identify one, I like to say, their problems and create a solution for their problem, whatever it may be, or some of the deficiencies are in operation, particularly in shipping. So the ideal franchise candidate is someone who uh, has a sales background, management background, a little bit of IT because we are an IT based company, a little bit of that. But again, we can train, whatever background they come
Hmm.
from. Our goal and what we can do is help simplify the shipping process. Yeah.
Okay. Well, are there any other things that you would like to bring up about the world options here, and like, what kind of an opportunity this is, for people that are thinking about it, shipping as a career?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll speak from the high level, if you will, and from an opportunistic level, and that is, World Options is a very, very large organization, and we are powered by a much bigger company, a much bigger brand, and it's called MBE,
Okay.
Mailboxes, etc. And Mailboxes, etc. is a large organization that really specializes in logistics and with MBE, we have 10 brands operating in 52 countries with over 3,200 franchise
Sheesh.
franchise centers. So World
Okay.
Options is just a small piece of that supply chain management.
Mm.
And so, are there synergies amongst those 10 brands? Absolutely. We haven't talked about that a little bit today, but
Yeah.
yeah, 10 different brands operating in 52 countries. World Options operates in 7 countries. So, to my point of it's growing, this industry is growing at a pace that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and you also have that like large corporate support structure in this particular case, which brings a lot of experience. And obviously it's part of the reason you have the partnerships you've been able to get, because they are large, whether you're dealing with an Etsy or a UPS. Those are, they're major companies that have a level of respect and have been willing to partner with you guys, because you are a large player as well. And I think that's really important. So, because it's, the company is got a lot more going on than just the franchise aspect of it, but that the franchises are able to be, take advantage of.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, great. Gerald, how would people that are want to inquire about a franchise get a hold of you?
Feel free to give me a call directly. Um, you know, I'll give you 2 numbers. I'll give you my cell phone number. Cell phone
Mhm.
number is 303-888-2290. Don't hesitate to call if you have questions about world options or MBE. If you like to call through the call center, if you will, that number is 888-308-5116. That again, 888-308-5116. If you'd like to send me an email, you can do that. Gerald, Gerald Steen, Steen, at worldoptions.com. Feel free to go to our website as well. That's us.worldoptions.com or just worldoptions.com. A couple of websites out there. So we definitely can be found. One,
Okay. Well, it was great talking with you today, Gerald. We've been talking world options. Shipping is a very interesting opportunity for franchises because there's not a ton of companies. Every time we think shipping, it's generally something like UPS store or something, if we're thinking franchises. So this is something that's really unique. The shipping space is really growing. I mean, it's not going to get smaller, it's going to continue to get bigger. And if you're in on this, then you are going to be able to take advantage because there are so many businesses that need it. And here, what you're doing is you're able to provide a more economical solution to your customers. That's really important. That provides opportunity. You're also making their lives easier. So you've got something to work with when you're trying to sell it, as a service. You've definitely got something here that people are going to want to listen to. So if you're looking at this as an opportunity, you want to get in shipping, get a hold of Gerald. My name's Cash Miller. I'm the host of Emerging Brands, Franchises on the Rise, and I'm also the CEO of Titan Media Works. We do podcast production. We've been talking shipping. Great having you on, and we'll see you on the next episode.